welcome to episode 33 of Coffee and Co-Read, your source for all things literary, with Kristen
and Catherine, where we believe there's nothing better than a hot coffee and an awesome book. Join us for our virtual book club where we take one book a month and dive into all the drama, adventure, and romance we can find. Hey, Kristen.
Hi, Catherine.
So, being the spooky fall season, and because we kind of touched on it a tiny bit last week, we thought that we'd talk all things pumpkin spice today.
Oh, the bane of my existence.
Yes. I guess there are a lot of things with pumpkin spice. I feel like it started as a latte and now it's taken over the world.
So, if you haven't been around like since the beginning, then you might not know that Catherine and I met working at a coffee shop together. We were baristas in crime.
True.
And we both worked at that coffee shop for like 15 years?
Yeah, I think I worked there 10 years or something.
Yeah, it was a really long time. So that is where we got our obsession with coffee.
Mm-hmm.
It's also where I've discovered I don't see the big deal about pumpkin spice. I don't like it.
Yeah.
Like I just don't. And that could possibly just have something to do with the fact that I don't like my coffee sweet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we've discussed this before on how we like our coffee, and both of us tend on the low sugar, like to no sugar, like mostly black.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
So I can't drink pumpkin spice anything because it's just too sweet.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like I find it is super sweet, but then the lattes usually, insider tip on pumpkin spice lattes from where we worked at least, they'd have white chocolate in them and then pumpkin spice as well. So it would be like overly sweet from the mass amounts of sugar that are in the white chocolate syrup. And then the pumpkin spice would add the flavor to it. So generally I just don't drink lattes anyway, but I can't with the pumpkin spice taste either.
Mm-mm. And like I don't know what it is about pumpkin spice. Like I don't even know really what's in it besides like cinnamon and nutmeg.
Yeah.
I don't know what makes it pumpkin spice.
Because it's
And
not
like
pumpkin.
I don't mind. No, but I also don't mind cinnamon and I don't mind nutmeg, but for some reason I just can't handle it. Maybe it's the combining it with coffee that I don't like. But at the same time, like now Starbucks has a bunch of like baked goods and like, well, everywhere.
Yeah.
You can get the baked good now. It's pumpkin spice bread or like, I don't even know, like cookies, whatever. I don't even like those either. I feel like they're like maybe trying to hit you over the head with the spice bit. And maybe that's like, maybe they're going overboard. Maybe it needs to be more subtle and it's not. I have not found a pumpkin spice product that I enjoy.
Yeah. I haven't really tried Benny, I guess, is the other thing. But I would like to, maybe we should have checked what's actually in it before we talked about it. But because like cinnamon and nutmeg is like ingredients that I put together in a hot toddy and it's delicious. Like I'm a fan of a hot toddy and that has a bit of sweetener. I put like honey in it, but it's also whiskey, so it's not too sweet. But yeah, I don't think it's the mixture of those two because they're good in a hot toddy together. But
I just looked it up.
Okay.
So it's a combination of cinnamon, nutmeg, cloves, allspice, and ginger, apparently. Which is weird because I feel like those are also all the things you would put in gingerbread. And I really like gingerbread.
Yeah.
So I don't understand. Maybe it's just a mental thing. I can't get past.
Could be.
Like literally, we used to work and there would be like 20 cups on top of the espresso machine and it would all be pumpkin spice,
PSL.
pumpkin spice. And yeah, PSL. So like maybe it's just a mental block that I cannot get past. I don't know.
It could be.
But I can't.
Yeah, it took me a long time to realize that there was no pumpkin in it. I think I was not working there anymore when someone was like, pumpkin spice doesn't even have pumpkin. And I was like, I did not. I don't think I've ever tried it. And I just don't like it on principle. So I didn't get to figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah, but I've seen on YouTube, I've seen like people do taste tests of all things pumpkin spice. There's pumpkin spice flavored everything.
Hmm.
Like everything, like pumpkin spice chips and
Oh,
like snacks and popcorn and like cereal. Like there's literally pumpkin spice everything.
wow.
And I watch people taste test it and it's all garbage.
Well, that's not surprising, even though I did say I haven't tried it. But I've smelt it, I guess. I've had it spilled all over myself. So, like anybody who's a barista knows, you go home and you
Yeah.
smell like all the syrup and all the
Yeah.
coffee.
And you're sticky and like that was I think one of the worst things is like you would go home and you would then like be just going around and say like a t-shirt or something and you randomly find like a sticky spot
Yeah.
like on your arm and be like, what is this?
If you went out after work instead of just going home, you'd be out somewhere and you'd be like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, and then too, like people would be like, "Oh my god, you smell like coffee. You smell so good," and it's like, no,
I'm sick of it.
no, this is so like I don't know why, but like I feel like there's a difference between the coffee smell when you're in the cafe
Hmm.
versus then when you go home. So like people that aren't used to the smell are like, "Oh, that smells really good," but you're like, no, you just feel gross
Hmm.
and like I don't know. It's not a good look.
It's a lot like the campfire smell that like you get it in your hair and then the next day you smell it and you're like, oh, it smells like a campfire. But then while you're at a campfire, you're like, oh, this is awesome. I love campfire smell. So,
Yeah, it's true. I actually don't hate campfire smell, like even the day after, but that's also because it has nostalgic, like it brings nostalgia stuff back. So like,
yeah.
it reminds me of my pop. So like,
Oh,
I can't like not like it.
yeah, I know that makes sense. It literally makes me want to throw up when I smell it the next day. And I don't know if it's because I've like been hungover and sick a few times and smelt it, but like it makes me want to
Maybe.
vomit.
Yeah. Well, coffee is a lot like that
Yeah,
when it comes to working there.
I agree.
And yeah, anyway, I just like I guess I'm losing a bit of like my basic girl cred here because I don't like anything pumpkin spice.
I know. I feel like I'm 100% the fall basic bitch until it comes to pumpkin spice where I'm like against it.
Yeah, I make up for it in other ways,
Same.
I think. But anyway.
Yeah. So I guess we'll get into our book this week. As always, we are not a spoiler-free zone and things might get a little saucy. So this is our second week with the Ex Hex by Erin Sterling. We are doing chapters 9 to 17. Last week, obviously, was the first week in the book, so we met all of our characters. Vivian and Rhys are the two exes who had a summer fling and are seeing each other for the first time in like 9 years. After the breakup, Vivian and her cousin Gwyn jokingly put a curse on Rhys, and now, ever since he entered Graves Grove, where he originally met Vivian, and where Vivian still lives, he feels like there's a curse on him, which obviously is a coincidence. um, he
Mhm.
has he's having a lot of bad luck. He after two near death experiences, and a call to his father, where his father was just like, "Not possible for Penhallows to be cursed." He takes Vivian to the ley lines, where he's tasked with recharging them. So,
I just want to say that like that really pissed me off. Like his dad was like we know that his dad is a dick,
Yeah.
right? Like, but the fact that he was so like, "Ugh, there's no
Nonchalant.
way some like some like garden variety witches would be able to curse us.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, check yourself. Like, come on.
Not
Like, he needs to
necessary.
get up off his high horse.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And he ends up wrong. So just saying it. I think it's pretty obvious now, but
Yeah.
so Rhys and Vivian are on their way to the ley lines now, and last week they parked right outside of a cave that the ley lines were inside of. So they go into the cave, and Rhys, of course, didn't take his father's map because he like is 100% sure that he'll find them on his own. So they obviously end up in a dead end,
Typical man.
right? I know.
Yeah. He's such a typical man. I don't need a map. I know exactly where I'm going. I'll feel it. Because his magic hasn't been wonky since he got to town.
Yeah.
Yeah, his magic's going to react perfectly normally.
I wonder if he just
100%.
like left the map back in Wales, if that was like, he was like so cocky about it. But
Ugh.
anyway, they end up lost ish. Just in a dead end, not really lost. I suppose they could get back outside. Rhys thinks his inability to find it is just more cursed bad luck. But yeah, well, you could have just brought a map. Like, so dumb.
Yeah.
Luckily, somehow, Vivian knows exactly where the secret entrance is. Even though she's never been there, but she can like feel that it's to the left, which is definitely interesting, and I think looking back now, foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Her Aunt Elaine has always insisted to her that the ley lines are a sacred place that she should never go to. But where she's going with Rhys, she knows this is her only opportunity to kind of like go legally. I know it's not legally, but you know.
Yeah, it's like, it's known amongst the witches that the ley line spot is only for the Penhallow. Oh my God, words. only for the Penhallows. So like no other witch is really allowed to go on there. I don't think there are repercussions or anything like that. I feel like it's just universally known that it's like a sacred place, and like unless you're a Penhallow, you can't go.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
So they go through the secret passageway and down a tunnel, and it opens up into a cavern that has the ley lines are just there, and they're glowing purple.
Very, very spooky Halloweeny.
I know, quite the color for Halloween. The lines are obviously like really impressive, and we're in one of their heads now. I can't remember who. I think it might be Rhys's in the beginning. But he starts talking about other magical things, and he says that like magic affects you when you use it, and it can either leave you tired, it can leave you crying, giddy. But for some reason, the ley lines is making, like, I guess the power of it is making them both horny, which is, of course, like,
but like, yeah, it's a sexually charged scene.
yeah.
And like, I almost like, she doesn't actually know that the magic is causing it at first, so she's like starting to get all turned on by him.
Mm-hmm.
And like start to get like really, like they get really close to each other, and they're like doing that. Like, it sounds really bad now that I'm about to say it, but they're like deep breathing, like next to each other, like, and like
Looking at
it
each
doesn't
other's
sound hot.
lips.
Yeah, like
Oh.
it doesn't, the heavy breathing thing at each other. Now that I'm saying it, it does not sound hot at all. But when you're reading it, like it's sexually charged. Like
Yes.
there's some hotness in there. And like you're just kind of like, "Ooh, what's going to happen?" And you're sort of hoping for a little something something.
Yeah.
Nothing, no. Nothing happens.
No.
But like I almost half wonder if it's affecting them that way because there's attraction already there.
Yeah, because we never really get, and I feel like this is something common in this book, is like, I feel like there could be more backstory, there could be more
Mm.
explanation than there is. And like I said, I don't know if there's more in the second book or anything, but it just feels like it could be a more like fantasy book. Like it has all the elements and like I'm super interested in them. So I
Mhm.
don't know. It's like I get that it's a romance first, fantasy second, but it definitely has all the elements of a good fantasy book that I'm like, I want to know why.
Yeah. It's almost like the world building took a back seat
Yes. Yeah.
to the relationships,
Yeah.
which is fine.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
some books. Um but yeah, no, I agree with you. Like it would be interesting to get a little bit more history on the why and like on, if other people were to go there, like would they feel different things based on who they're with? Like
Mhm.
it's just an interesting concept that I think the author could explore in like other ways
Yeah.
even after like the two books. Like
Yeah.
that's an idea she could take to the bank.
Exactly. Like someone's going to have to charge them again at some point. So what's going to
Mm,
happen then? Um
yeah.
but yeah, so Reese kind of wonders why his father didn't warn him that this would happen, and he he kind of wonders if this is why it's normally done alone. And like all I can imagine is
Yeah.
like his dad going there and being super horny. Like that just seems it just doesn't and then the awkwardness of a conversation with your son of being like the magic like I feel like I don't know if that conversation would work. But
But again, this is why I'm wondering, like, does it depend on if you're with anybody or who you go with? Because, like, what if he went with his brother? Like,
yeah.
you know what I mean? Like,
Would be
I can't imagine that they would,
feel the way that he's feeling right now.
yeah, about her.
Yeah,
Like, he's already attracted to her. He already loves her. And
exactly.
she still loves him. Come on.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, we already know that.
it's not stated, but we know it.
Yeah.
And we all know where this is going, guys. So like I wonder if like again, if he goes with his brother, I can't imagine that the magic cave will make them feel horny with each other if it's two brothers
No.
or like a father and son or like we're friends.
Yeah. It,
I just feel like the magic is smarter than that.
yeah. I wonder if it would like make two people who didn't like each other attack each other. Like I wonder if it's like it takes your emotions and
Maybe.
heightens them or something.
It's a good point.
Cool. So, Reese, I guess, that takes a after thinking about his father and what would happen if they came together, which they um, takes a minute to try to settle himself because he's super horny right now. Um, so he, I guess, closes his
Mhm.
eyes and tries to like focus on what his job is, we'll say. But all he can see when he closes his eyes is, of course, a highlight reel of his and Vivian's sex life together and how great it was. Um, Vivian basically comes up to him during this, and I guess when he opens his eyes, like how close she is surprises him, and he has to grab her arm to steady himself. And he keeps holding her arm, and he can't stop looking at her lips, and he goes in to kiss her, but she actually, I guess, remembers herself and pushes him away. And she asks if he really brought her to a magic sex cave, which is
Yeah.
like, if we weren't in his head, I would 100% believe that that is what
Yeah.
happened here. Like,
Yeah. But like at the same time though, she wasn't like innocent. You know what I mean? Like she was feeling it.
oh, for sure.
Like, all the heavy breathing into each other and looking into each other's eyes and mouths and like I
Hmm.
think she like talks about how his hand feels on her arm and like she is here for it.
Yes. Yeah. I, yeah, it is a bit shocking, I guess, to realize that this cave is like specifically set to make them horny. But
Turning them on.
Yeah. They both start to be able to like collect their thoughts and figure their shit out. And Rhys is a bit annoyed at her and says, of course, he didn't know what we're going to feel when they got there. And she does make a okay point, but not really, because she's like, well, maybe you should have asked. And like, who would have told him this? Like, it's not, she knows his father is like feared and whatever. So it's not like he can really have a conversation with his father and be like, what does it feel like when you get there? I'm sure he's
Hey,
all about
Dad.
emotions.
Hey, Dad. So I got to the cave and I was really horny. Does that happen for you?
Yeah. And like his dad probably goes there, and if it makes him horny while he's by himself, he's like, maybe it's just me that this happens to. So it's not something he wants to bring up with his son. Anyway.
But also, if you're there alone, like you can easily
Take care of that.
take care of it. Just rub one out. Like
Maybe that's why you're supposed to do it alone.
Yeah.
Rhys does kind of reason that it could just be a thing with them because they already have chemistry. It like we kind of already said, it might just be the two of them together bring it out in each other. But Vivian is still like, I felt like she took it a bit far with how annoyed she was. She does, I guess, say, what if it was dark magic instead and we tried to kill each other? Which, like, is a good point, but also you're probably not supposed to just take dates to the ley lines. Like, maybe this is a sign that you're only supposed to take one person there.
But also at the same time, like, how is he supposed to know? He's never been there before. Like, I feel like she's given him a bit too much credit.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Like, she's making him out to be this, like, villainous, like, mastermind when really he's just he just didn't think about it.
Yeah. And,
like why would he?
Exactly. And they argue a bit back and forth. And she basically just says that she knows she like should never have trusted him because of 9 years ago. And you're like, damn, girl. A, it might be a bit of time to get over this. And B, like, I don't think this is his fault. I think it's a funny story that they can tell people later and everything is fine. But anyway, she's clearly still annoyed about it. But she thinks about, like, I guess Gwyn had a tarot card done up in his image, which was the Fool. And, like, she says that symbolizes chances and risks. And Gwyn had a star done up for her, which was peace, serenity, and steadfast. And she, like, takes this to mean that they're clearly doomed in terms of like a relationship. So I think she's overthinking things. Like, you're in a cave for charging some ley lines. Like, this is not about your relationship.
But also, has she ever heard of like opposites attract?
Clearly not. Clearly she doesn't read romance books. So
she's missing out.
That's true. So Rhys finally goes over to the ley lines, I guess, and does the magic to charge them up. And a flash of magic comes out of his hand and into the lines. And first they light up like you'd think they should light up, like, I guess, more purple. But then it gets very, very cold and the lines start to turn a black oozing color. And the ground starts to shake and the lines start moving like snakes. And, like, they just get the vibe that something is very not right.
I just, like...
Imagine.
I'm just already annoyed that his magic, he hasn't been able to do one drop of normal magic since he showed up in town. Mm-hmm. But he's like, sure, I can charge the ley lines, no problem. Nothing will go wrong.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. It's not very smart yeah.
It's just one of those things where, like, if it happened in real life, you know it wouldn't happen because the people responsible would be somewhat responsible and think. like use their brain.
Yeah.
But because it's a book and we have to have a plot, he's gonna make it like he is not a dumb character.
No.
He's not a dumb man in this book. He is a smart, cultured, business savvy, albeit a little reckless and like I don't know, just suave.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. But if
and so for him to make a dumb decision, it just
yeah,
annoys me.
I guess it's his father pushed him to just go do his job, and he's like, well, once I do this I can leave, but obviously there
I
needs to be
guess.
a reason for him not to leave,
Yeah,
is the
I guess.
main part.
I guess the only thing I will say is that I really appreciate that it's the man making this decision and not the woman.
Yeah, he made the mistake.
Well, because normally in a lot of books, it's the girl that makes like the stupid mistake that we all know she wouldn't really make in real life,
Yeah.
but to move the plot along, you have the woman make this like ridiculous decision.
Yeah.
And like, I'm just glad that in this instance, it's the man making the really dreadful decision.
Yeah, I agree. So obviously something is not going right here. So Rhys grabs Vivian's hand and tells her to run. They run out of the cave, and the magic follows them and races past them towards the town. And Rhys like knows that he really fucked something up. Um, Vivian notices the moon is really similar to the moon, like phase. I guess the phase of the moon the night that her and Gwyn cursed him,
Mm-hmm.
and she kind of decides that maybe it's time to let him know that they did that. So on their way back to town, she explains it, but she says it doesn't seem like any of the things that they wished for came true. Because, like you said, it was like his hair still looks good, and we're assuming he can still please women. But
Yeah, I mean, there's no guarantees since we don't have any firsthand knowledge about his
it's true.
ability to find the clitoris, but who
Yeah.
knows?
Um, but she does kind of, I guess, realize that at the end of her spiel of little petty curses, she did say, I curse you, Rhys Penhollow. And now he does seem cursed. So
I mean, are you trying to tell me that that candle sprang up, the lights flickered, and are you trying to tell me that was real? That wasn't just an electric, like, that wasn't just electricity going a little haywire?
and the window.
Yeah, like, you're saying that a candle that, like, sprouts, like, 2 meters high from Bath& and Body Works
Yeah.
and then comes back down, you're saying that's magic now?
I know, it's wild. I'm sorry to break it to you.
That was her stupid moment.
Oh, 100%. At least she tells him, I guess.
It's a bit late.
Yes. Yeah, she should have probably told him before. Yeah.
Before they charged the ley lines, I feel like
Yeah.
would have yeah.
Made sense. She says she didn't mean to curse him, but like, you can't take that shit back, honey.
Can
um,
I just find that he like accepts her, like he forgives her very fast for
yeah.
this.
Well,
Like
he feels like a piece of shit for what he did, which I don't even really think he should, but he really
no.
does feel bad for it. And then he's like, I guess I deserved it. I'd
It's
be,
like
yeah.
it's like, oh, I told her I had to go home and break off my engagement, my betrothal, and I broke her. That broke her heart. Like, ugh, come on. He's taken on more of the guilt, I think, than he needs to.
Yes.
And again, like he forgives her for this like immediately. It's like, oh, you cursed me. Oh, but I didn't mean to curse you. Oh, okay then.
Fair enough. Carry on. um, he does he does still think that like maybe nothing actually happened, and like maybe his father was right and he can't be cursed. But then I guess Vivian gets a phone call and it's Gwen, and all Rhys can hear on the line is chaos, and he can see like the blood drain from Vivian's face. And she tells Gwen that they'll be there in like 2 minutes and races down the hill in a car. But when I read this part, I thought that
It was
someone
so
was dead.
funny.
But I thought that someone was dead. I was like, oh shit, like this
I know.
is bad.
Her reaction to this is like oh, her face drains of all color and she goes pale, and then we get to the incident.
Yeah.
And you're going to talk about it now in a second. And it's just hilarious.
I know. I'm like, this isn't as bad as you're making it out to be. Jesus. Like, who cares?
It's very funny.
But yeah, so they get to the shop and Gwen is on the desk with a broom and so foolish.
Sorry.
It's all good.
Continue.
But there's also 3 girls that are like crouched in the corner. And Vivian rushes in and a bunch of skulls turn towards her. And Rhys like can already feel before he walks in that like the magic is like there's a lot of magic happening, when obviously this shop doesn't usually have a lot of magic in it. A skull when Rhys walks in, a skull bites his leg, and without thinking he like blasts it, but he blasts a hole in his pants and almost like his leg too, because his magic is still fucked up. Like obviously, like this is dumb. Don't use your magic right now. You clearly know it's screwed up.
Can I just say that all I can imagine when I think of this scene are these little like plastic skulls, because they don't have
chomp,
real
chomp.
Yes, on the like just little skulls on the floor going
going side to side on their little tiny feet.
No, they don't have feet.
No, corner to corner, I guess is how they move.
Like shuffling along the floor. And it's really funny.
Yeah, it's a bit
foolish. It's foolish and funny. And maybe that's the idea, but her like getting all pale in the car and hearing this terrible news, I did not expect there to be a bunch of little chompies like just in the shop.
I honestly thought someone was dead. So
yeah.
But you know, she might exaggerate a bit. The 3 girls in the shop are tourists, and he really shouldn't have done magic in front of them, but he doesn't really know what else he was supposed to do. And I'm like, is this tiny skull really going to take a like bite out of your leg? Are they that bad? Like, I can't imagine they do that much damage. He probably damaged his pants more by singeing them than the little skull would have done, but maybe not.
Who knows, man.
But then he starts kicking and stomping towards them. So like I don't think they're that menacing, but anyway. So he gets to Gwen and he gets the broom that they have. He basically uses it to usher the skulls out of the way. And he goes to the 3 girls to get them out of the shop. Because they're just customers that were just hanging out when all of this happened.
But like, can I just add that like, what are they planning on doing with the broom if they are moving, like if they are skulls that are like chomping all over the floor? What's the broom gonna do? You're just gonna sweep them out of the way and they're gonna be like, roll, chomp.
I guess.
Like, I can't imagine a broom working. I don't know.
I know. I don't.
I feel like they would have been better off picking them up and like putting them in bowls or containers or something.
That's in a box. Put that box in another box.
And if you can reach behind it, it's like a lobster. It can't get you.
That's true. Yeah.
Right?
Good point.
Just reach behind the head. I don't know.
No.
I feel like this whole book would have gone way smoother if we were there.
Yeah. Or we would have just gone in there and laughed.
Yeah.
What are they doing?
I would not be cowering in the corner over some like chompy skulls.
Could you not step on them? I don't understand.
Yeah. Like they're literally plastic skulls. Could you not stamp on them and break them?
Yeah. Would they
I
keep
don't know.
moving? Is it like I don't know. Um so yeah, he starts ushering the three girls out of the shop and he tells them that the skulls must have like come from a like dodgy website, and then he says that he used a lighter earlier and that's what singed the one on his leg, and kind of trying to explain his magic away.
Yeah.
He does get them out of the store and they are convinced that like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like he's very charming man and he's very good at talking his way out of things, it seems like. um Vivian goes to use her magic to close the curtains in front of the door, but obviously magic is fucked up right now, so she ends up setting them on fire.
It's just funny. Like they're trying to make it so that no one can see it, and all she did was make it bit
I
worse.
know. And then people start watching, obviously, because now there's a bunch of probably screaming and yelling, and then there's fire in the windows. Um, but her aunt shows up, and she uses her magic to stop everything, including the chompers. Um, and obviously, she asks what the hell happened. Um, so they really explain everything to Elaine. They say that Gwen and Vivian might have accidentally cursed Rhys as a joke, but now clearly there's something very wrong. Um, they do bring up the whole mantra again of mixing vodka and witchcraft.
This
And
is why you don't.
yes, and Rhys does agree that that is good advice. And you're like, stop being such a kiss ass. um, Gwen then tells Rhys that all of this really comes back to being his fault because he shattered Vivian's heart. And Vivian is just there like, you can't say that. Like,
I know. Shattered is a hard word. Like
yeah.
that is a word to use. Like he didn't break it, he shattered it.
Yeah. So Vivian's kind of embarrassed by that. So she tries to say that he didn't break her heart. And like they have a whole chat about how teenagers do stupid shit. And her aunt kind of agrees that she did something stupid when she was a teenager that's Led Zeppelin related. And I want to know what that story is too. Like there's a lot of little stories that I could take out of this book that I'd like to hear. Um they kind of decide that like the why doesn't matter. Like I guess them having done it because of each other. Um but obviously what matters is what the cursed ley lines are now doing in Graves Glen. Um, Vivian can't believe that the first time she was ever able to do big magic, that it was a curse that she didn't even mean to do. She kind of says that her magic's never been super strong and it's a bit wonky. And when I was reading it, I kind of wondered if like maybe that had something to do with her doing the curse. And I thought like, oh, maybe she threw all of her power into this curse and maybe she'll get it back if the curse is broken.
Yeah, I know. I feel like this is, and I don't want people to think we're harping on this book and like criticizing it in a bad way. We're not. I really enjoyed this book.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess like part of what we like to do is we like to break it down and like go through all the things that we can find.
Yeah.
And I sort of thought this was like a leftover device. Like not even I feel like I'm not saying it right. I feel like this was like maybe like a plot that like a side plot that didn't get realized. Like
Yeah.
maybe she meant to do more with this idea and then just forgot about it. Like
Yeah. Or it got
it
edited or whatever.
yeah, like it never got resolved.
Yeah. I felt the same. But I think it also too is like it is the first time I read this book, I took these notes for it, and I was trying to read it and pick out any foreshadowing I could find, obviously not knowing what's actually going to happen.
Yeah.
So like I too don't want to be harsh on the book, and I don't think we are being harsh on the book. I think it's more like we were just trying to find things that could connect in the future. And I don't
Mm.
know, maybe it comes up in the next book that something happens.
Which is a thought that I actually had just now when I voiced that it doesn't seem like it went anywhere. Maybe in the next book, maybe it'll go somewhere.
Yeah. And I'm kind of assuming that there's going to be a third book based on there being three brothers, but
Oh
I don't
yeah,
know
maybe.
who would be in it other than the brother. Anyway,
Yeah.
um so at this point, Rhys kind of realizes that he should probably call his dad, but he doesn't want to, because Simon will likely be pissed, which isn't surprising. Um, he kind of tries to like talk them down from thinking that everything has gone to hell and maybe like everyone's overreacting. But Vivian comes up with, I guess, like a bit of a plan and tells everybody what they're going to do. Rhys is going to call his dad because he needs to tell him what's happening. Elaine will try to figure out how to stop the curse, I guess, research. And Gwen is going to go back to running the shop and say it was all just like a Founders Day show, and that's what was happening and why their curtains were on fire.
Genius, really.
Yeah.
It's so lucky that this happened around Halloween.
Yeah. Well, my God, yeah. You wouldn't be able to explain it away if it didn't.
Oh, this was just a little Easter prank.
Yes.
Like, oh, this is
Easter egg. That works.
I don't know, or like we did this for Labor Day.
We were just redecorating with some flames.
Yeah. Yeah, no. It works for Halloween.
Yeah. So I guess they adjourn for the night, and Vivian wakes up the next morning, and Sir Percival, Gwyn's cat, is in the room, and he is asking for treats, but he's asking in English.
Oh my god. Can I just say Sir Percival, and it's spelled out Purr, like purr.
Mm.
It's like Sir Percival
Fair enough.
he's the VIP of this entire book
Yeah.
for me.
I loved him.
He is so cute and funny. I like adore him.
Yeah. And like a talking cat is like one of my favorite tropes, and I don't think it's used enough.
What do you mean your favorite? Like
Sabrina?
So one.
Yeah. It's not used enough. I just said it. Witches and talking cats. It's a trope that needs more.
Like the fact that you're calling it a trope when you can come up with one example.
Two now. This book, Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Is that a book?
I actually
Was
don't
Sabrina
know.
a book, or was it just a TV show though?
I have no
/
idea.
movie. Well,
two makes
okay.
a trope now.
Okay.
So yeah, Vivian yells out to Gwen because there's a talking cat in her room. And at first, Gwen is like super excited by the thought of a talking cat, which would be me. This would be me in this situation. I would be super excited. But when she realizes that all the cat can say is treats, she isn't quite as excited.
I love it though. It's so cute. Treats. Treats.
Yeah.
Treats. Like that's the voice to me.
Yeah. No, I love it too. Although I do think that if it happened with my cat, I would probably get annoyed. But
yeah, I know. Oh my god, I've two. Like,
yeah,
I've two. They would both be like, treats, mama, treats, mama, treats, mama. Like,
yeah.
Oh my god, it'd be the worst.
Vivian obviously thinks that this is a sign of the magic in the ley lines doing some fucked up shit around town. But Gwen kind of tries to reassure her that it's all going to work out. But it kind of makes me wonder, is it just their house where the cat starts talking? Are there any other talking cats in this town? Like, or dogs
Not
or
that
any?
no, not that we get.
I know, but why? Why just their cat?
That's a good question.
I guess he was there when the curse was made, but like I don't see why that would matter. But
I
yeah,
wouldn't yeah, I don't know. Maybe just because they're magic at home.
yeah. Maybe
I don't
because they're
know.
using magic anyway, and then they.
Maybe.
Mm.
Yeah.
Anyway, interesting facts. So Vivian is mostly just embarrassed that Rhys now knows how heartbroken she was over him. Um, clearly, oh, she thinks clearly it was one sided, like their relationship, and her being so upset by it because she noticed how shocked Rhys looked when Gwen said she was heartbroken. Um, so like you can tell, she feels like she can tell that he didn't actually love her as much as she loved him back then. And when I was reading this the first time, I was like, if this devolves into a miscommunication thing, I'm going to lose my shit. Um, luckily, it doesn't really, though. She does promise, though, that she isn't going to fall for him again since she's an adult now. And
Yeah.
you're like, she's already falling for him. Like,
Yeah.
you can already see it.
Yeah. It's like that time in what was that movie? A Walk to Remember, and Mrs. says, "You have to promise me something. You have to promise you're not going to fall in love with me." And he says, "That won't be a problem." And then like a month later, he's like, "I'm in love with you." Same thing.
Exactly. So she's basically about to leave the house when she realizes that there are two voices in the kitchen, and it's her Aunt Elaine and Rhys is there. So she goes into the kitchen and she realizes her aunt has also baked sticky buns, which is apparently uncommon, but sounds delicious.
I love making sticky buns, but they're really like they take ages because you
Mm,
got to let them rise a couple times and like yeah. But my family also loves them.
yeah. Um, which you're like, when did she have time to bake them?
Right before she saved them from the skulls.
Oh, that would make sense.
I don't actually know. I'm inferring that she
Yes.
like whipped into the thing smelling a cinnamon and dough
And nutmeg and
and
cloves
just
and
went pumpkin spice really
yeah.
and just went pachow
Yeah. I love it.
and made that exact sound.
Of course. There's no other sound
Yeah.
to make.
I know.
um so Vivian goes into the kitchen and she grabs a coffee, a copy. Jesus Christ. She grabs a coffee before she finally asks Rhys why he's there. He explains that they're trying to find something to break the curse, which is like obviously what else would he be doing? Uh, she pulls, I guess, the giant book that they're looking through towards herself, and she can already tell that like this won't be an easy fix by the writing and some of like the gross images in the book. Um, they do say that Rhys is likely less cursed now because he passed some of the curse onto the ley lines, which is like good ish. Like, yes, there's less curse on him, but now the town is screwed because of the ley lines. So I'm like, it's not great.
No.
Gwen comes into the breakfast kitchen.
The breakfast
Breakfast
kitchen?
kitchen.
Do they also have a lunch and a dinner kitchen?
Maybe. It's magic. Um, and she asks why his hair is still doing the thing, uh, since he was cursed, and that was one of the like stipulations that they put in. But Elaine kind of explains that magic doesn't do specific things when you curse somebody. It just gives them bad luck or death. So I guess we're lucky he's not dead yet. I guess.
I guess. I mean, hasn't he only been there for like 2 days?
Yeah. And he's
So
almost
I
died
mean,
twice, so I guess we're not
you
really
know,
that far off.
yeah.
Vivian basically tells him that she's going to go to work as normal, and her aunt thinks that she should be more invested in the issue at hand. But she can't just not go to work. Like,
I'm I mean, she kind of could, though. She could easily call in sick.
I guess, but I feel like
Or,
she,
like, cancel class for the day. Like,
yeah, I don't know.
she's a university professor. They have lots of, like,
Options.
I don't know. Yeah.
I guess, yeah, I don't know. But anyway, the school also has a magic part. So she decides that she'll go to work and then while she's there, she'll have a look and see if she can figure out anything, knowledge, find any knowledge there about the curse too.
Right.
But then Rhys says that he's going to go with her so that he can check out the library while she's teaching. Um, which obviously is going to give us some good old forced proximity. Uh, she I guess has a closer look at Rhys and realizes that he does look tired and not as perfect as it seems. And she kind of wonders if she really even knows him. Like she knew him for 3 months a decade ago, and I think this is the first moment where she actually realizes that he is basically a stranger, which is healthy to realize, I think, and true.
Yeah. I think I think it's doing a lot to, like, I don't know. I feel like a lot of her character has been sort of defined by this moment and, like, stuck in that moment of getting her heart broken, and, like, fair point, man. Like, it sucks.
Hmm.
But I don't know. I just feel like this is her first sort of coming around to, maybe not that it wasn't that bad, but, like, maybe it wasn't as bad as she originally took it,
Hmm.
because, like, he was only a boyfriend she had for 3 months when she was 19. Like, it should not that it shouldn't, but you wouldn't think that it would define your whole life.
Yes.
And I feel like for her it does.
Yeah. Well, it has, I feel like it defined her romantic life. Like, I feel like like, she's still gone and got herself a good job that she likes. And, like, I think she's doing well in other facets of her life. But I do think that this is very much something that, like, has stopped her from loving other people.
But like, at the same time, like, her entire career is sort of chosen because of her interest in him,
Yeah. Yeah.
which we'll talk about, like,
In
right now.
5 seconds. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Anyway, we'll get into it now a little bit. So they go to the college. Rhys says he likes the feel of it, and, like, the way they describe it, I feel it reminds me of, like, just a really old school, like, a big brownstone, like, I don't know, it's just when you think stereotypical autumn college campus,
Hmm.
that's what it is. Like, it's very idyllic.
Yeah.
Um and, like, the university or the college, whatever, is actually named after his home. And we discussed last week that his house that his father lives in is, like, really dark and gloomy and really, like, creepy and gothic. And he he was pleasantly surprised that the college was so light and colorful. So, like, just it's showing his interest a little bit in the
Hmm.
college, which I think is a little tiny piece of foreshadowing.
Yeah. I guess so.
um, Vivi is, like, straight up on her guard, like, she's making sure that there's no weird magic-y stuff going on.
Fair enough.
Um, um, Rhys then says, like, or not says, but he's thinking that he wants to get back to normal. Like, I guess he wants his magic to get back to normal. Um, and he says he felt guilty that he had hurt Vivi enough for her to do this to him. And, like, I almost feel like this is a little bit of victim blaming, like, against him.
Mm.
Like, she's the one that cursed him,
Yeah.
and he's taking the guilt of that. Oh, she did it because I, like, hurt her so badly. But, like, I feel like that's a little bit of victim, like, that's, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
he's taking the blame and he's blaming himself and making her out to be the victim when really she's the one who did it.
Yeah.
I feel like she needs to take a little bit more responsibility in this scenario.
Yeah, I agree. I guess the only other thing is like they were trying to do it as a joke. Like it's not an excuse at all. But I do understand them saying that. But like if you're going to be magic, you should be more responsible for what you say when you're doing magic, even if it's just a joke.
Yeah. And he also adds that, like, he knew that she was angry at him, but he didn't know she was heartbroken. So, like, I don't know. If anybody feels like that Rhys is the asshole here, I just. And maybe that's the point. They're trying to like have us sympathize with him, and I do. Like,
Yeah.
I feel bad.
Yeah, I get that.
Um, he also like sort of mentions in his head that his memory of Vivienne was stuck with her at 19. So like he hadn't really thought of her having a job in an office. And he said that he suddenly wants to know everything about her, which is similar to what you just said
Hmm.
about Vivi thinking that he was essentially a stranger. And he's realizing it too, but he's like, I think we have an obvious here that like she's mad at him. He is sort of blatantly still in love with her,
Yeah.
right? So he's like, I want to know everything about her. Like
Hmm.
as an adult, I want to know who she is. I want to know her. We didn't really get the same thing from her.
Yeah. She was more like this. I don't know him, and like things have completely changed. He's not who
Mm,
I thought he was. So she doesn't seem like she wants to put work in to get to know him as much. Whereas
yeah.
he's like, I want to know everything that she's done since I've saw her 10 years ago.
Yeah. Um so he straight up like he wants to get to know her, so he asks like first thing he asks her, why did she choose regular history? So like we've already discussed that Vivi's job is teaching at the college, but she doesn't teach the secret magic school at the college. She actually teaches just regular history. And she says that she spent most of her life being normal, and that's where she feels the most comfortable. And it's sort of a reoccurring theme with her, like thinking about her past and how she did grow up without any magic. And I don't know, I just feel like she brings it up a lot, how she didn't grow up with magic, she's not comfortable with it, she's not as good at it. And I feel like this job choice is sort of an extension of that.
Yeah. Which is another reason why I kind of thought that we would get um, something about her magic either being changed because of the curse or just something. I thought that there'd be more to this, like more to
Yeah.
her not being connected with her magic and not feeling powerful. I
Yes.
really thought
Yeah.
that there'd be more to it because, like, we do get so much of it.
Mm. Anyway, so I guess he just takes this answer and accepts it. They go to her office. There's a bunch of like pictures around, and he starts checking them for men,
So cute.
which I thought was really cute and funny. They sort of have a little bonding moment about like she talks about teaching, and he talks about his travel business and how they're both like exposing people to the things that they love.
Mm.
So again, she's exposing her students to her love of history. He's exposing his clients with new places that he loves and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, he scans her bookshelf. She has a lot of info on whales in her office.
Interesting
Uh,
for an American teacher.
it is. And then she admits that that was her area of study. So, like, that's what she did her master's thesis in. And then she says, because of the town history, not him.
Yeah.
So again, this is coming back to the point that we talked about earlier about how like she is sort of letting him and their entire summer together in the moment where he broke her heart, letting that influence her entire life. And this is another aspect of that. Like, she literally did her thesis on whales because of him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't, this whole like because of the town history shit, that's totally bogus.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like again, she is letting career, she's having that decided by him. Not by him, but like
Because of him.
yeah.
I kind of feel like she probably just does like, does she do Wales history at this college though? Like, is that,
No, because she's sort of a new-ish professor, she's got to teach the intro to history classes.
yeah, okay. Yeah. Cause like, is that, are there, is like, would there actually be classes in university in the States of Wales history?
I think like I'm not 100% sure, so if I say something wrong, somebody please correct me. But I think what happens is they hire you like as a professor.
Hmm.
You have to get tenure first. And then I think once you've got tenure and like if you have a specially knowledged area, you could mock up a course and
Hmm.
then give it.
Yeah. And I guess, especially since this town has such ties into Wales history, it might be
Yeah.
something that would be offered at just this college at some point.
Yeah. But like again, I think she's got to like pay her dues and do like the intro stuff
Hmm.
first. And then once she's tenured and stuff, then I think maybe they would be like she could be like, "Hey, I'd like to offer this course to the
Yeah.
kids." And they would be like, "Okay, well show us a syllabus or something like that." And then they would approve it.
To the kids.
And right? Anyway, I'm not 100% sure if that's how it works,
No, that makes sense. I just
but
didn't really understand
yeah,
it.
like I don't think they're going to go look. I don't think she's going to be like, "Hey, college, I have a specialization in Welsh history." And they would be like, "We've been looking for a new Welsh history teacher. Come on
Yeah.
aboard." I don't think it's like that.
No, that was kind of what I was wondering.
Yeah.
But
Anyway, um but yeah, so I guess she sort of like is asking him if he likes his home. Like, does he like Wales? Because she sort of notices that he's made a career traveling. So he does say he loves it, loves the country. And he says like the scenery, the poetry, the rugby. Um, he even says like the national animal is a dragon, and they've got a dragon on their flag.
cool.
So like I know, isn't it so cool?
Big fan,
Yeah. But he says he doesn't like visiting because of his dad.
which is sad.
And no, isn't that just like a parent to take all the fun out of everything? um but actually, and after this conversation, like him saying like no, I don't like visiting because of my dad, he like shuts that conversation down
Yep.
cuz he doesn't like talking about his relationship with his dad. So he's just like we're going to stop talking about this. Um, so they make their way to the library because she has to show him, like, he's going to do some research while she teaches her class. So they go to the library and she shows him sort of like the magic area of campus. And I feel like I'm not going to lie, this section I sort of got confused about, like just how it was written. I wasn't 100% sure, but I think it said that when he went to the college, everybody was mixed in together. So, like humans and witches,
Hmm.
like if you were taking a regular class, you would all take it together, or like the classes and the buildings were all like mixed in together. So, like, I could have History of Magic 101, and it would be in the same building as like chemistry.
Yeah.
So like the humans would be taking a class, and in the same building in a different classroom the magician, like the witches would be taking a class.
Yeah, that's kind of how I thought that it was. And I assume that,
Anyway,
like,
yeah.
you, as a magic person getting a degree, you'd also have to do other classes as well.
Yeah. Anyway, so he's like, yeah, like when I came here, we were all mixed up. Like there wasn't one magic area of the college. It was like
Hmm.
everybody was just going together, but the humans just didn't know about the magic-y stuff. And Vivi tells them that they had to switch it up because a human accidentally ended up in a magic class and tried to take videos with his phone,
Yeah.
which is, I mean, it's so something a human would do. Like a
Yeah,
million
definitely.
percent. It is something a human would do. So,
Well, if I walked into a class, I would do that, I think, if I walked into a class and I was like, "What the hell?"
see, I don't think I would I don't think I'd take a video. I'd start taking notes. Be like,
That's
yes,
fair.
teach me all of these things.
That's yeah.
Anyway, so I guess yeah. So Vivi says like they had to switch it up because a human accidentally ended up in magic class, tried to take videos with his phone. Um, so what they did was they put like a barrier around the magic part of the campus, and like any human who walks towards it like just does that thing where they want to go in a different direction.
Of course, La
So,
Harry Potter.
you know, it's yeah. I mean, it's everything though. Like I feel like every
Oh, yeah.
magic-y. I mean, the same thing with Akatar with the barrier,
Mhm.
right? They
Yeah.
would hit it. They would just want to go in a different direction.
Yeah.
So, um, Vivi also mentions that she never hangs out with the witchy students and the witchy profs. She thinks they're weird. And like, okay.
But I
Um,
feel like that's just another thing of her not being in touch with her magic, which
very well could be. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, and this actually comes back like this fact, which is why I'm sticking it in here.
Mhm.
Like it sounds out of place, but it does come back. So just remember this. Um, so they go into this like magic library. It's really like dark and eerie and foreboding and very like what you would picture for a magic library. It's like super cold inside. Um, and Vivi is now thinking to herself that it's really embarrassing that Rhys knows that she studied whales. And she's like half-heartedly arguing with herself. She's like, I didn't base my whole field of study on him talking about his home one time. And in my head, I was thinking two things. First thing, yes, you did. Second thing, he only talked about his home country once in 3 months.
Yeah, that doesn't
Because
seem
she's literally says, he talked about it one time. Like, if she didn't say that, I would have been like, if she said, oh, when he talked about it, I would have been like, of course, it's only natural for him to talk about his home country to his girlfriend in the 3 months that they're sleeping together.
mm.
But like for him to really only mention it once, I don't know, man.
Are you thinking like stalkerish or like
I don't know. I'm just like, why would you not mention your house
Oh,
or
yeah.
your home? Why
Well,
would you not talk about your home country? Like, you don't even have to talk about your family. Why not talk about the fact that there's a badass dragon on the flag?
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there are other things to talk about.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So I'm just a bit mad about it. Um, so I guess so I guess we go back to Reese's point of view. And he says he feels like there's something really dark and unnatural in the library, but he just sort of like brushes it off. And they go to the librarian's desk. It's just like, I feel something dark and unnatural, and it's eerily cold inside. Oh, well,
All good.
it's fine. So, just another moment where I'm like, dude, like, get a clue.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyway. Um, But yeah, so they go to the librarian's desk and they get a pass so that Rhys can do some research while Vivi goes to class. Um, Rhys like thinks that the library is this like ancient magic, and it probably is. There's
Yeah.
probably a lot of like magic-y books that are letting off a lot of stuff. Um, he says the books are mostly written in Latin, and he has to brush up. He has to brush up on his Latin. He isn't as fluent as his dad and brothers. And I'm like, it's a dead language. Why would you want to be fluent in it?
Yeah. Also, impressive that you can figure it out anyway. So,
Right? Like, who cares if you're fluent? If you can literally read a book and figure out what it's saying in Latin. I took Latin. I would never, ever, ever be able to attempt a text in Latin.
yeah.
Ever. Just, yeah, it just would not work. Would not work out for me.
No.
Um, in saying that, like everybody told me to take Latin because it's so similar to French and it'll really help you understand the basis of because French is an evolved language from Latin, and knowing that will really help you on your French career.
Hmm.
It didn't
No, I wouldn't
at
imagine.
all. Well, like it's just so freaking confusing. Like we're learning verb tenses and the verb tenses suck. Like even more so than French. So like anybody who's done a second language, especially like I'm talking from a romance language perspective because that's what I know. So like French, Spanish, I haven't done Italian, but I'm assuming it's similar because it's also a romance language. But
Mm.
like for all of them, you have a set of verbs and then there's like 6 endings that you could put on them to help conjugate the verbs, right?
Yeah.
And each ending refers to like the person doing the action. So, in Latin, they also have the 6, but then so they have 6 different like subjects of people that can do it,
Hmm.
but then they also have like 6 different cases. And this is how bad it is. I don't even remember like 100% what the cases were for, but like that meant that to conjugate one type of verb in the present tense, you would have to know 36 endings.
No thanks.
Yes. No, thank you. It's brutal. It was so bad. And I guess it didn't help, but I took the Latin course as an accelerated 7-week class at university, because at our university you can take either 14 weeks in September to December, in January to April, but then in the summertime they offer either a full 14-week semester or they offer 7-week like mini semester, but you have to go to class twice as often,
Mm.
and everything is just condensed into 7 weeks instead of the 14. So I did it in 7 weeks. It's so bad.
I bet.
So bad. I just can't. So I don't know. The fact that he knows any Latin at all, I'm like, way to go, dude.
Maybe he can just read it and not worry about the tenses.
Maybe. Yeah. Anyway, back to the book. So I guess he's like getting his books and like getting ready to go sit down and research. And he says like he wants to call his dad because his dad would know what to do.
And he
But
still
he
hasn't.
also right. But he also doesn't want his dad, he's afraid that his dad would like get mad at Vivi. Like he knows his dad wouldn't understand that Vivi cursing him was an accident, like he wouldn't be forgiving. And I just wonder like what would he do?
I don't know.
I don't know either. Um so he has a thought. Instead of calling his dad, he's going to call someone who's just like his dad, but maybe a little more forgiving and a little more kind.
Hmm.
So he calls his brother Wells, who immediately says, "You should come home."
Which is probably what his dad would say.
Yeah. But after like a bit of cajoling from Rhys, he's like, "Okay, fine, I'll make some discreet inquiries on how to fix everything." He's like, "Don't worry, I'll ask around and see if we can do this." But primarily, he was like, "I think you should come back home because that's where you'll be safe and you won't be under the effects of the curse anymore."
Hmm.
Um, they then have this really awkward moment where Wells does this like, "Oh, if anything were to happen to you" thing. but it's like really, really awkward. And I sort of felt bad because like seems like he was trying to have a genuine moment and Rhys was like, dude, like, no, come
Yeah.
on, let's not do this. And I just want to be like, dude, he loves you.
Yeah.
Just let him love you.
Not the romance I was looking for, but yeah, no, I feel the same. But I think it just shows Rhys's personality more, and I
Yeah.
do think that like it does get better.
Yeah.
So, mm.
Um, I guess he keeps going through books after like he hangs up the phone. He keeps doing his research. Um, all the books he finds on curses tells you how to make curses but not break them. And I feel like is this safe for a college to have like a how to like how to curse someone?
Yeah,
You know?
and no way to stop the curse. Yeah, it doesn't really make sense.
Yeah. Anyway, so Vivi comes and meets him after her class, and they go through books together, and they both start getting frustrated. Um, Vivi sort of like throws out that it shouldn't be that hard to break a curse that she didn't even mean um, over them when they were barely a thing. And I feel like she's lying to herself now.
I think that she's just kind of trying to say it so that he doesn't think that she was like heart
Yeah,
shattered. Like she's
yeah,
trying to like do a bit of collateral, mop
yeah,
up a bit of collateral damage. I don't know what word
yeah.
I'm looking for there, but yeah.
I will say that. So I skipped over this part. So they go through the books, and I think they grab some and like bring them into like his private little study room,
Hmm.
which I loved those in like in university. Those private ones that had no windows. I don't know, they just felt cozy. I know. Oh my
I only
god.
went into one once, so I didn't go to the library.
I used to go all the time because
Mhm.
I found for me personally, I would get distracted at home. I would end up and I still do it. Like I'll put the TV on,
Yeah.
I'll like fiddle with a snack or with a drink or like something.
Yeah.
And so I liked going to the library because there was less distractions, especially in those like little rooms,
Yeah.
not out in the main library because then you're like looking around at everybody. But anyway, so I pictured them in one of those little rooms.
Hmm.
So I guess after she throws out like, "Oh, I can't believe it's this hard to break a curse that I didn't even mean," like considering we weren't even that much of a thing, and this sort of causes them to fight a little bit. And and like eventually it comes down to him reminding her that he wasn't engaged, but he was betrothed, which are two different things.
Hmm.
And she's like, I'm not in the mood to discuss semantics.
That's all there is, though.
I know. And like, I'm sorry, but a betrothal and an engagement are two different things.
Yeah.
Like they're very different. Anyway. He then says, and this I love what he says here. He says, that summer was important and that it meant something to him. So he's sort of like laying it all out for her, right? To be
Mm.
like, hey, this meant something to me. And she then replies with, it didn't mean anything to her and that she barely remembers it. And I just want to eye roll at Vivi. Come on, man. You're not fooling anyone.
Yeah.
Uh, anyway, so he moves closer to her after this and asks if she remembers the first time they kissed. And then we get a flashback of the kiss.
Hmm.
And Rhys thinks that he will remember that kiss until he died. And it's just painfully obvious that he still loves her. Like, come on.
Yeah.
You're going to remember your first kiss until you die? Like, I don't even think I could ask my husband when was our first kiss. I don't think he'd be able to tell me.
Do you know?
Yes.
Me and Jeff are the opposite, so he knows what it was, and I have no idea. So
Ours is not like, it's not like a romantic story.
hmm.
So, like, I'm okay with him Like, it doesn't bother me. I'm not
Yeah.
like, "You don't know what our first kiss was." I don't care. But, like, I don't know. I know that he's not gonna remember it until the day he dies.
Yeah. I think that's a bit odd anyway.
Anyway, so their first kiss, they're sitting on top of a hill at twilight, like with all these bonfires around because it's like the solstice revel. And he asks to kiss her. And then he's holding his breath, waiting for her to say yes and wanting it with every fiber of his being. And I'm like, oh God, this is the cheesy part of this book.
Yes. This is what we signed up for.
Yeah. So this is the big cheese. So I guess we come back to the present, and he's sort of just said, like, he's like, "Oh, do you remember our first kiss?" And he's like getting closer to her, and she's sort of toying with him. She's like, not really. I've kissed a lot of guys, and I guess it wasn't that memorable. So he like they then step even closer to each other, and like when I say the sexual tension is palpable, it's a good, like, there's a good amount of sexual tension here. We're leaving the cheese behind and getting right into the sex,
Hmm.
which I like. And he says if he were to kiss her now, it would it refresh her memory? And it sort of asks as a question, and he's expecting her to like slap him, but instead, completely out of character considering she doesn't like him and she's been trying to like be mean to him really this entire time. She tells him to go for it. So he kisses her. And it's 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 a good kiss.
It's hot.
It is very hot. So like she says, so like we switch now to Vivi's POV, and she's like saying, "Of course I remember everything about our first kiss. Like I'm not a moron. I don't want him to, like, she lied to him. She doesn't want him to know how much it meant to her." And I guess it's more of this like trying to save face and trying to like get some respect back after Gwen sort of said that her heart was shattered.
Hmm.
Um so she says she admits, though, that maybe she didn't remember it because he was amazing at kissing. Like, he's better than she remembered. So, like, she's like, oh, maybe I didn't remember. I don't remember it being this amazing. And I'm thinking in my head, girl, he's had 9 years to practice.
Yeah, he was 20. He was a wee pup.
Yeah. So I guess she, like, leans into the kiss and then he growls. Like, why does everybody growl? I don't think I've ever had a man growl at me while kissing.
No, I would be like, "Are you okay? Is everything
Yeah,
fine?
yeah. It's like, what's going on here?
Did I hurt you?"
Yeah. So I guess he growled as they're kissing, and of course, this growling sound turns her on because why not? And then they're like bumping into the table, and like these very old spell books on curses fall to the floor.
Well, they're mostly useless anyway and shouldn't be in a campus, but
And Rhys says like out loud, which I thought was weird, I forgot. How did I forget? Like those were his exact words. And I'm thinking like, does he mean like how good they were together? How potent they were? Like,
just the chemistry maybe. I
yeah.
don't know.
Um, Vivi sort of like agrees, but thinks maybe it wasn't forgetting, but driving the memory of their connection away. Because if she admits how amazing it was, then she lost him too soon. And that their 3 month fling meant more than any adult relationship she had. So she's sort of like saying like she wasn't trying to forget, but trying to drive the memory away because it was so amazing. So she's trying to suppress it, really.
Hmm. Yeah. Which I guess makes sense, especially when you haven't seen someone for 9 years. You're going to try to like get over it as much as you can.
Yeah.
You want to give other people a chance.
Yeah. Um so like I guess he's running his hands down her hips. he pulls her skirt up, and
Ooh.
yes, and she like pulls his jacket off. Like, I sort of thought initially when this got started that as soon as he broke the kiss and said like, I forgot, how could I forget, I sort of thought then that she would snap out of it and be like, hey, no, we can't do this.
Mm.
But she doesn't. Like, she
Complete
like
opposite.
yeah, no, she is here for it. So I guess she ends up sitting on the little study table, and he's standing in between her legs, and like he's pressing, I'm saying his length because I think that's the words used in the book, against her center. So like essentially he's got his big D pressed right up against her vagine. And I guess there's a little bit of grinding going on, and it's very hot. And they're making out, and all of a sudden she begs him to touch her. So he just shoves his hand in between her legs and rubs her clit.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, I'm so glad you can still find it."
It's fair.
And they are really going at it. Like, they are about to have full-on sex in the room.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden they start to hear screams.
Ugh, I would have been there for it. Like,
Well, initially I sort of thought it was her screaming, like in a good way.
amazing.
Yeah. But I guess they straighten themselves out and they run out of the room to the librarian, whose name is Dr. Folk.
I didn't even notice that.
Fulke, Folk.
Mm-hmm.
Who admits something is wrong. And it's like, well, I mean, there's somebody screaming. The place is unbearably cold and it feels weird. So, like, you think there's something wrong? I just don't know.
Seems maybe, possibly. It's a possibility.
So they head towards the screaming, and Vivi sort of says, like, geez, if it was cold before, now it's like downright like frigid. And says like it's so cold that it hurts. So there's obviously something like paranormal or supernatural going on.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess they run out of the stacks into like the open area, and they see a ghost. Ooh.
Scary.
Um the only thing is it's not like one of those cool Victorian ghosts that you would hope to see.
Yeah.
It's a girl in a flannel and jeans with high top Converse sneakers and a messy ponytail. So obviously it's something a little bit more recent.
Yeah.
And like she seems to be looking for something, which again, I don't think this ever gets addressed,
It doesn't. No.
which bothers me.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
So she, all of a sudden, she's looking for whatever it is she's looking for, spots Rhys, and then all of a sudden she shrieks at him and rushes for him and goes through him, which knocks him head over heels into a bookshelf.
Just poor books.
Yep. Then she sees a book and she's trying to get it off the shelf, but obviously she can't because she's a ghost. She can't touch things. So she's like trying to grasp at the book, but her hand keeps going through it, which is funny. Rhys like calls out to Vivian. He's like prone on the floor and he calls out to her. He's worried that the ghost is going to attack her. And the ghost does gear up to attack him again. But then all of a sudden she sees Vivi and she sighs and then she disappears.
Reasons.
Yes, for reasons. And it's just like sort of random. And again, I don't know if this is ever explained to us.
I don't think so. Not really.
Yeah. Anyway, whatever. So the ghost is gone. It gets warmer in the library. And Rhys says that when the ghost attacked him and went through him, he says he felt the anger that it had towards him. So I feel like this is something that needs to be explored. Like they need to get they need to get what's going on with the ghost. And they need to figure this out.
Yeah. You'd think that would be like your first priority at this point.
Right? Yeah. So I guess he asks Vivi if she's okay, but she, of course, because this is a romance book, she becomes distant from him because she's embarrassed about what they were doing in the study room, and like I guess she feels like maybe she slipped or something.
And fell on his dick.
Yep. So all of a sudden, they're like still in the library, and he's trying to talk to her about them almost having sex in the study room. Uh, when all of a sudden, the head of witchery of the college shows up, Dr. Arbuthnot. Like, what kind of a name is this? Arbuthnot.
Yeah.
It's anyway. Arbuthnot. So it's essentially the dean of the witchy side of the school. So they go to her office, and the doctor asks why they were looking in the special collections. Like, what is it they were doing there? And they don't really want to tell her.
Obviously.
But no. So instead, they just sort of admit that they had a little slip while charging the ley lines. And the doctor's like, well, you need to fix it quick because that ghost was a bound spirit. And you guys let it loose with this, the slip of the ley lines. And then we get a little bit more about the witch herself. The witch's name was Piper McBride, who was from 1994. So, I mean, the flannel, the band t-shirt, the jeans, all that tracks from 1994. So, I guess Piper fell into the darker arts as an older witch and accidentally sacrificed herself trying to make contact beyond the veil. So, like, it was an accident. She didn't try and die, but she did die.
Yeah. So she's clearly a spirit that has unfinished business, one would assume.
One would assume.
And they're like, we bound her. We need to put her
Yes.
back. And you're like, why don't we just help her finish her business? She's an angry spirit. Being bound isn't going to help anyone.
Yeah. Agreed. So I guess we learned then that when a witch dies due to shadow magic, they have to bind their spirit. Again, I don't know why, but they do, apparently.
Reasons.
And then the doctor sort of continues that they have to fix the situation, like, and by say they, I mean Rhys and Vivi. So they have to fix the situation so that the balance of magic and regular can be restored. And says that like most of the muggles won't be cool with a new ghost around. Like, yeah, I mean, I agree.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. So they go back to her office and they decide that the best thing to do is to figure out how to rebind that ghost. And then while they're also doing that, figure out how to break their curse. And there's sort of like both of them have an idea of how they should go about all this. So I guess it's not even them either. It's the doctor thinks that they need to take care of the ghost problem. I think Vivi originally brings up, well, maybe we should like put out all the little fires first of all the ley line magic stuff happening. But then like I think is it Aunt Elaine that thinks that no, they should just get on the curse stuff and like don't worry about the rest of it, because once you're on the curse stuff and you get rid of the curse, it gets rid of everything at once.
Yeah.
So like they can't really decide what they're going to do.
Yeah, exactly.
But eventually they decide that they're going to try and put out the little fires while they're researching how they can stop a curse.
Yeah.
Essentially.
So they're just going to do it all, which always works out well.
I mean, we sort of knew, like, what? Our main characters are going to do everything? Blows my mind. Okay, so I guess they go back to her office, and all of a sudden, Rhys gets a call about his travel business. So apparently it's hit a snag. So remember at the beginning, we said that he used his magic to make sure everything ran smoothly. Well, I guess his magic is wonky, so the luck stuff is not happening. So he has to spend some time on the phone fixing it, which apparently Vivi finds really arousing. Which
Yeah.
it's like arousing for her to watch someone do work. I don't get it.
I think it was that he's like actually proficient at his job, which is like a bit insulting.
Yeah. But like, whatever. She gets all hot and heavy.
Again.
Yeah. So now she goes to talk to Gwen about the ghost, and she admits to Gwen that they kissed in the library, which I think they did a little bit more than kiss.
Yes.
I don't know. Gwen just says straight up, I think you guys should have sex. And I guess sort of continues like Vivi is an adult. She's not super naive about where their relationship is headed. Like she knows it's not going anywhere. And she's stressed and needs a release. Truer words have never been said.
Perfect plan.
So that's what Gwen wants her to do. And initially, Vivi doesn't agree because she's not cavalier about sex.
Yeah.
She doesn't just give it away all willy nilly. But she also says that like it's something I want to do. Why not? Like I want to have sex with him, so why can't I? So Rhys comes in and they chat a little bit more about this ghost Piper. Vivi sort of says like she saw that she had been looking for a particular book, and I just get mad because why couldn't they have gone to see what book it was she was trying to get off the shelf in the first place?
Yeah.
Why? It's ridiculous.
She was literally reaching for one and then getting frustrated, so it should be easy to figure out which one it was.
Yes. Anyway, so I guess, she was like, maybe I should have got that book. Oh, well. And again, we never hear from this book again.
Yeah.
So Vivi sort of thought about the ghosts, and then she felt bad because the ghost looked like frantic and scared and said it was her fault. I don't get how. And I guess she's starting to think of like, what's wrong with the ghost? Why is the ghost haunting? Why is it like roaming around like that?
Why did
So
it freak out at
maybe,
Rhys?
yeah. So like, I guess she's starting to feel sympathetic for Piper.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, so that's actually, it's an odd place to end, but that is the end for this week. Like I know it seems a bit, I don't know, it just doesn't seem 100%, but
seems abrupt or something.
Yeah. Yeah. You get me.
I get you.
It does. Like it seems very like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna stop now. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I find
So
a lot of books do that with chapters now. They'll end abruptly and then you're like, but now I need to read some more. That's how you stay up all night. So here we are.
agreed.
Yeah. So I guess that wraps it up for this week. If you want to get in touch with us and share your thoughts on anything you heard in our episodes, or if you have any book suggestions, you can email us at coffeeandcoread@gmail.com. And be sure to check us out on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Coffee and Co Read.
Yeah, so next week we're going to be reading chapters 18 to 25 of this book. So make sure to follow along. And if you're enjoying our little chats, don't forget to follow, rate, and review wherever you find content. Thanks for listening, everybody, and we'll see you on the next page.